What's up? Welcome in. Hoge Jahns back with you, presented by Old National Bank. Every play matters, whether it's on the field or in your financial life. The best teams win by delivering excellence at every level. Old National Bank, where relationships and results matter. Remember FDIC. What's up, Johnsy?
What's going on? I think we have, you and I have not fully talked about the center position yet. I know you've talked about it at length for the past couple days, but here we go. Free agency's right around the corner.
Yes, new needs plus old needs, and still eyes on possibly a Maxx Crosby trade, which we have thoughts on this show as well. But yeah, let's start with the Drew Dalman reaction. Yes, I have feel like I've talked about this endlessly for the last 48 hours. So, Johnsy, I'll let you give your thoughts here.
So here are my, what we'll call it, final thoughts. I think, look, it stinks. But if Drew Dalman wants to retire on his own terms, and it sounds like this is when he felt was best for him, then I applaud him for it. This is a violent sport, a brutal sport that we all love. And if this is it for him, then so be it. I wish him the best. But the timing of it, I think, is important for the Bears. It really is. Like, this is a decision that Drew Dalman didn't prolong past free agency, didn't prolong past the draft. He did it a week before free agency. So from that respect, I think the Bears should be appreciative. Sure, they should have convinced him to try to stay. He's a Pro Bowl center. You don't want to lose the guy in the middle of your offense. But the timing of it, it's okay for the Bears. It gives them an opportunity to come up with a plan to find his potential replacement, starting with free agency.
Yeah, obviously we haven't heard from Drew on this, and I think it would be cool if at some point he, did discuss it. If he wants to, he doesn't have to, obviously, but and I don't want to speak for him, but I can only imagine that this was a very hard decision, even if personally it was easy for him. And I have been given an indication that like he's really at peace with this decision. That even if that's personally the case, he's still a good teammate and a leader, and so I have to imagine that it's still tough to know that this was going to come as a pretty shocking development to not only the people that run the Bears and are trying to put together a Super Bowl winning team, but also his teammates. And I have been told from a couple of his teammates that they were very shocked by this. I don't, even if we don't really know the whole situation, I'm sure Ryan Poles, he talks a lot here in the middle of free agency, so I'm sure we'll hear from him, maybe even by the end of the week on this, or by the end of next week, I should say, when the new league year starts. I don't know what type of indication they had, or, was there a debate period or where he was like trying to weigh this decision and Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles? No, I don't know. But what I do know is there was a lot of people with the Bears that were caught off guard by this. But to your point, this could not have been easy for Drew. And I think that the timing, like, I don't know how else he could have handled it better. You know what I mean? Because you sign a contract last year, it's 3 years, it's a lot of money. You fulfill 1 year of that contract, and then you change your mind. And that's okay, because everybody's human and you want to do the best for yourself and your family, your long-term health, all of those things. But I do think that there is an element of doing right by your employer at the same time too, when, getting out of a contract. And teams get out of these contracts early all the time, right? We're seeing it literally in real time.
We're about to talk about this in a little bit.
Right. With releases. So, I don't necessarily think players owe these teams anything, but I do think it's cool when they do. And I think in this case, the notifying the Bears when he did, and putting them in a position where there's some good players out there. And we're about to discuss them. There's even a scenario where I think they could get better at center, which is even crazy to talk about. Now it's going to cost a little bit more money, but it's possible. So yeah, I do think that that's worth including in the discussion here.
The last time I talked to Drew Dalman was in San Francisco, where he was a Pro Bowl player for the first time. And I brought up his individual success, reaching the Pro Bowl at this point in his career. And while he was thankful, while he was honored, while he was proud of what he was accomplishing, being there at the Pro Bowl, Like his answer was about team success, how he relates his own individual success directly to the team. Like the team success is what defines him. So to kind of wrap up this conversation, I think he is being a good teammate at the end of this. If this is finality for him, if this is the conclusion of his career, doing it at this point in time, while not ideal, is better than doing it 2 weeks before training camp. It's better than doing it a week after the draft. You're doing this days before the negotiation window opens up. So the Bears now have an opportunity to pivot. Like I wonder if the Bears, do you think they'll fight back for the salary or the signing bonus from Dalman? Do you think they'll just let it be? It's not much money in the grand scheme of things.
It's $4 million. Let me check something real quick.
I think he already has some of that anyway for his first season.
Well, he's got right. So $2 million of it counted last year. You're not going to get that back. There's basically $4 million you can get back, and
I thought it was $2 million you can get back.
I don't know how much you can get.
Anyway,
I thought I had the answer on. So if they fight back on the signing bonus, right? That wouldn't end up counting on your cap. Is that right?
Correct.
Or is it just the cash you're trying to recoup?
It's,
I guess my answer is if it can help you with the salary cap, maybe it's worth fighting for. But if it's just cash, I mean, Drew Dalman gave you a really good year.
He helped you develop. Caleb Williams was a good teammate. And again, I think it's noteworthy that he did this week as opposed to next week or potentially even later when things are even worse roster-wise, when you have to make harder decisions.
So let's. Are we good? Are we good there with the Drew Dalman stuff?
Yeah.
Kind of moving the page. It's been almost 48 hours.
I think the Bears have moved the page. Like now they're turning.
You got
the
to.
page too.
This is how you got to operate. I mean,
free agency comes fast.
This is why this league is wild.
It's like Dan Sharp here saying in the comments, he left the team in a bind. I get that, but it's a lot different now, like today, as opposed to leaving them in a bind 3 or 4 weeks from now. Or
Frank Ragnow left the Lions in a bind last year.
Yes. That's tough.
That's leaving your team in a bind. When free agency and the draft and the second, third waves, post-draft waves of free agency are all over, that's leaving your team in a bind.
Yeah, letting your team know before free agency, to me, is extremely meaningful because it helps them pivot.
And by the way, even in that situation, I don't necessarily blame Frank Ragnow for that. Dude, if you go through your entire offseason, you feel like you don't have it. And by the way, he tried to come back too, and he didn't have it. He failed his physical. So, you know, there's going to be more of these too come summer. This happens every year. Not necessarily with the Bears. I'm just saying in the league, you're going to see somebody in June, July retire. It happens. Now, what's more surprising about this one is how young Drew Dalman still is. 27. So that, and the fact that he just signed a contract with the Bears. But all right, so the other thing we wanted to discuss before we get into some of these free agent targets that we're looking at is, and I saw you on Twitter this morning already responding to somebody. I responded to that as well. It's just, I think we just need to clear up going into next week and even this weekend, if there's some moves, if there's some trades, the actual flexibility that the Bears have here. Now, I don't think either of us is going to sit here and about to tell you that they could do anything they want. But just because they're technically in the red, and I don't think they are actually in the red now that Drew Dalman retired, but they can still do things here. Like there's really, I don't want to say there's no limit to what they can do, but when it comes to potentially doing a Maxx Crosby trade or signing a big free agent like Tyler Linderbaum, I'm already on record saying this. I'm going to keep saying this. It doesn't necessarily have to be an either or thing. Now it might, depending on how much they want to mortgage from the future, but it's definitely possible to do it.
So I think the conversation here is like, so the buzzword from Ryan Poles is like sustainability. It's a word everyone's going to use because it's a word Ryan Poles is using. Don't confuse sustainability with, for flexibility. Does that make sense? Am I conveying this right? The Bears have a lot of flexibility with how their contracts are constructed, with how all NFL roster or contracts are constructed, includes Maxx Crosby's contract. Did you want to bring up the details of that one?
Sure.
Okay. The Bears literally say they trade for Maxx Crosby. The compensation is one thing, but adding him to your roster, number one, he's not the highest paid defensive end in the league. Number two, they could literally get out of his contract after one season.
Yeah.
One season. If he's injured, if it's a massive miss, I don't think acquiring Maxx Crosby would be that, but they could get out of it for almost like zero dead money. I think it actually is zero dead money. Let me pull up the details here.
Well, wait a minute here. I got $29 million of his 2027 salary fully guaranteed.
2027, yeah. So after 2027, sorry.
So 2 years.
2 years. 2 years.
2 years. Which, if you're making this trade, you want 2 years out of Maxx Crosby anyway. But so $29 million of his 2027 salary is about to guarantee third league day of 2026. So next Friday, that money will become guaranteed.
Right.
So
that 2 years fits the 2 years of Caleb Williams being on his rookie contract.
Right. Right. It still fits this timeline that we keep telling you about on this show to give you the flexibility beyond 2027, which right now the only player tied up for 2028 is DJ Moore, who you could be moving anyway here. So
flexibility.
Right. Now, if you go out and sign a Tyler Linderbaum, 6, 7. Oh, I didn't mean to do that, but
again,
I just did.
Every show.
Yeah. Sorry. I really did not mean to do that one. I'm guessing something would have to be tied up into 2028 on that type of contract since we now are in 2026, but that's okay. If that's the only contract, if you were to move DJ Moore and that's the only contract taking you that far, I mean, that's still giving you the future flexibility that we're talking about.
Well, here's my rant about sustainability. Like obsess over the long term if you want. So you got Maxx Crosby for 2 years. That's a long time in the NFL. Like, in all seriousness, 1 year can be a long time in the NFL. So much can happen. So many things can change. Just literally look at the 2025 Bears. 2 years of Maxx Crosby does not limit you whatsoever. If anything, it enhances the idea of sustainability because you're adding a blue chip player.
Right. And if it works out, you have him under contract through 2029.
Like, what are you trying to sustain here? Like a winning football team, a competing football team, a playoff football team? Maxx Crosby helps you do that for 2 years. And that, again, is a long time in the NFL. We're talking about a team in the Chicago Bears who, correct me if I'm wrong, Adam, struggles to make the playoffs in consecutive seasons.
Right. Yeah. So now, and maybe this is our transition into some of this free agent talk. As much while I do not think it's an either or, and I think you can pull off both, I would also understand if the Bears were somewhat careful about this and did look at it like, hey, we got to be careful about how much we're giving up here, both in draft capital and, cap space for potentially 2 players. I think I'm prioritizing center over a Maxx Crosby trade right now. And I'm curious what you think about that, if you would disagree. The reason being, we just saw this with our own eyes last year, how important it was to get the offensive line right, to get the center position right. We talked to AQ Shipley in San Francisco, who knows offensive line play as well as anybody. And he was like, you want to know when the run game took off? It was when they started tweaking it better to Drew Dalman's abilities. That's when it took off after the bye week. So I am just looking at this, Johnsy, and I'm going, to go cheap at center here or to just go with the draft pick at center here, that scares the hell out of me. with what they've built here on this offensive line and sustaining what they've built. And if you have the opportunity, if the silver lining out of this Drew Dalman retirement is that it freed up some cap space for you and he gave you the courtesy to let you know that this was happening while Tyler Linderbaum was on the market, I'm prioritizing that right now. I'm prioritizing potentially even upgrading at center with a guy who also, in my opinion, fits the mentality of this football team perhaps even better than Drew Dalman. Because Tyler Linderbaum is a bully. He's a mauler up front. He is a really good run blocker. He's got the potential to actually make this run game even better in 2026. So in terms of the way I'm listing things now with this new development, as much as people are, checking their notifications every 5 seconds for Maxx Crosby, if I'm inside that front office right now at House Hall, I got Tyler Linderbaum at the top of my list. And I'm not hesitating to pull the trigger, even if it's over $20 million a year.
All right, so this is how this show is going to work today. We're going to name free agents. And one of Hoge's free agents on his list, number 1, is Tyler Linderbaum. Do you want to give the projected contract from Spotrac?
Well, these are PFFs.
PFF, okay.
Projected contracts. They got him 40 years, 20 million.
40 years?
I'm sorry, 4 years, 20 million. I'll take him for 40.
40?
That's how much I want him.
We'll be in our 80s covering this team. 4 years, 20 million. So Drew Dalman,
20 million per year.
20 million per year. So
it ends up being an $80 million contract and $53 million guaranteed. Again, this is what PFF is projecting right now.
So this is a considerable financial commitment, even more so than Drew Dalman. Drew Dalman, in this coming season, was due $9.5 million guaranteed. He had a salary cap hit of $14 million. So you're obviously increasing this.
This is exactly where it's important, though, Johns. Yes, he was going to cost you $14 million this year on the cap. When you sign a new player with the signing bonuses, his cap hit could still be less than what Dalman's was going to be this year for this coming season. So that's important to keep. Another reason why, if you structure it, you have the flexibility to structure it the way you want to still be able to take Maxx Crosby's contract, plug it in, and make it work for the salary cap this season.
So I'm with you in prioritizing center. There are 2 positions, 3 positions maybe. Once the Tremaine Edmonds news goes final or whenever it happens, right? We all expect him to be off the roster. But there are like 3 positions for the Chicago Bears. This doesn't even include defensive end, where they don't have starters. No starters. It's center, safety, and potentially linebacker, where you need starting caliber players. No center, no safeties, and potentially one linebacker that we all expect. So to me, knowing how important center is to Ben Johnson's offense, center is number 1 on my list by far. Like, I think defensive end is a luxury. We all know the Bears pass rush can improve, but they don't have a freaking center on the roster. A reliable center, smart center, an experienced center that can meet the demands, all of the demands that Ben Johnson wants from that position.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how do you prioritize those 3 positions?
Oh, it's center, number 1.
Yeah, exactly.
You have 3 positions where you don't have starters. And to me, I'm sure Ben Johnson is banging on the table right now at Hallis Hall for Tyler Linderbaum. Can I read something from Brandon Thorne? He does the Trench Warfare newsletter. He's been on this show before. His offensive line analysis is top-notch. So he actually rates Linderbaum in Tier 2. Tier 1 is elite starter. Tier 2 for him is very good starter. So that's still good enough for me. And I quote, Linderbaum is the top interior offensive lineman available and profiles as a very good scheme-dependent starter. He's an impact run blocker, particularly in his own concepts, where his quickness, range, and ability to win angles consistently create displacement and second level access. His movement skills remain rare for the position. He has more here, but that first paragraph, that first part of his analysis, sounds like Drew Dalman to me.
Do you know how hard it is for me to pick a Hawkeye over a Badger?
I just immensely.
Just keep that in mind here as I tell you that that Tyler Linderbaum's worth the money over, going cheaper with Tyler Biadasz, who, by the way, I still like Biadasz. But to downgrade at the position, and Biadasz, you can get by with Biadasz, but I think you would have to, and I brought this up briefly on CHGO yesterday, Johns. If you downgrade at center, even just a little bit, I think you have to rethink what you're doing at left tackle a little bit. This idea of just getting by at left tackle, it's different to try to skirt by at two positions, instead of knowing that you have 4 rock solid options on the rest of your offensive line, which as of our live show on Tuesday, everybody thought the Bears had. And now they don't anymore. So
I'm seeing concerns about his ability in pass protection. Here's Thorne. In pass protection, his smaller frame and compact build limit his ceiling when isolated against high-end interior rushers. He can be walked back when forced to anchor in true one-on-one situations, particularly against heavier nose profiles. That said, his natural leverage, balance, and athletic recovery ability keep him in the functional to solid range overall. So this is Drew Dalman plus.
Yeah, I was about to say, Dalman had some of the same issues last year too, if we're being completely honest. Mm-hmm. He had a great year, but last couple games, and including the game against the Rams, were not his best showings. So
let me play devil's advocate for a minute. If you're the Bears and you're looking at the investment on your offensive line, you're paying Tooney, you're paying Jonah Jackson. You may want to pay your next center in Linderbaum. What happens with Darnell Wright? How much money can you allocate there? Does it even matter? Or is this type of investment just overdue for your offensive line?
I don't know if it's overdue because they did this last year. I do think it gives you big. One of the questions it raises is, will we have to give up Tooney at some point? But I have to imagine they're already planning for that, right? I know Tooney signed an extension. Or do you have to make a tough decision on Jonah Jackson at some point? You know what I mean? But to me, it's just, you need to worry about this now. You can't. You just can't afford to take a step backward on the offensive line next year, in my opinion.
No, it's too important to Caleb's development.
So you figure that out later.
All right, let me give you one of my players. This is a player that you love if you're the Chicago Bears already. Safety, Kevin Byard. You don't have a starting safety. You don't have any safeties on your roster. To me, the projected contract from PFF, Kevin Byard, 2 years, $9 million per year. That sounds like what we heard at the combine, somewhere in the $8 to $10 million range for Kevin Byard, for a player of his experience, for his talent, but at this point in his career, that seems fair to me. To me, I would do it in a heartbeat. I think you need some good vibes right now after the Drew Dalman retirement.
Yeah, and you don't want to lose another leader from the locker room, right? So that's part of it too. I think at this point we all realize that there's going to be a different safety playing next to him, and so instead of having 2 new safeties, you bring back one of your leaders. Plus, you're going to lose Tremaine Edmonds. It sounds like another leader in front of the safety position, right? So you don't want to cause too much disruption. I think this one makes perfect sense for both sides, and I think 2 years at his age makes a lot of sense.
All right, let me give you another player.
Mm-hmm.
Trey Hendrickson, defensive end, 1 year, 21 million, 17 million guaranteed. That is the PFF projection. What do you think?
So cheaper Maxx Crosby, right? Because Maxx Crosby's at $30 million coming year with in terms of just the base salary.
I'm going to quibble with this projection a little bit. I feel like he's going to get at least a 2-year deal, maybe 3-year deal, 2 years fully guaranteed.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, these are just projections from PFF. He is also coming off a pretty significant injury, though, too. And I think teams are going to have questions about that with longevity. So even if it is a 2-year deal, Johns, I don't know how much guaranteed money there would be on the second year. But doing 2 years would also give you flexibility to spread it out a little bit. So maybe that's the way the Bears would go if they went Trey Hendrickson's route. I think it's worth considering. Obviously, if you don't get Crosby, I would rather have. Let me just be very clear about this. I would rather have Crosby at 30 than Hendrickson at 21. Though I think he's better. He's younger.
I mean, the production actually favors Hendrickson over the past few years, but it's not past production you're paying for. You're paying for the projected production that you could get in the future. Yes, that matters in evaluations in your contracts, but you're paying for future production, not past production.
Yeah, and this is where I'll sound like Phil Emery for a second, but I would still say Crosby is the leader between those two guys in overall disruption. The amount of impact he has on a week-to-week basis of the opposing team having to game plan for you.
He's a multiplier, a true multiplier, in my opinion. All right, you want to give us one of your players?
So my first one, just to be clear, was Tyler Linderbaum. We already discussed him. My second one, I'm going to put this more in a luxury category. So not necessarily a priority. I've brought his name up a couple times, but part of why I'm doing this is because I'm almost surprised the projection isn't higher. But for 3 years, $14 million APY, I would think about Rashid Shaheed. Depending on how, like, there's a million puzzle pieces here, right? So if Maxx Crosby doesn't happen, if DJ Moore does get traded, there's got to be a few things here, and it's got to happen quickly because I don't think Shaheed's going to be on the market long come Monday. I think he's going to sign pretty quick. But the news out of Seattle yesterday was that he's going to hit the market. And that tells me he's probably going to get signed somewhere. I would also imagine the Raiders are very interested in him because Clint Kubiak and Andrew Janocko had him in New Orleans, and they're obviously a big reason why Seattle traded for him from New Orleans in the middle of the season. So that's a very natural landing spot. That if he's going to hit the market, he's going to end up with the Raiders in Las Vegas. But I think for what he could be, not only as a returner to take your return game to the next level and help your field position, he's a very intriguing piece to add to Ben Johnson's offense as well. But if you're not moving DJ Moore, then I just don't know. Like, there's just not enough targets to go around. But that's another guy.
How you make it work.
List. Yeah.
Ben Johnson is always going to be looking for explosive weaponry for his offense. And I think that also applies to his return game. He wants chunk yardage. He wants returns deep into the opponent's territory. Duvernay had a great year, but you could get a better year from a faster player. I just felt like the scheme was there for Richard Hightower. You and I talked about that a little bit.
Well, but also, like, he gives you actual offensive production. And I think PFF had in their write-up on him. Let me see if I can pull it up. I think it was I know it was 0 drops. I'm trying to see how many 90 plus targets. No drops last season. So he's way more than a returner. I would imagine that this one's tough to pull off, and it's definitely a luxury given everything else the Bears need. I also think the Bears have a head coach who's interested in luxury sometimes when it comes to weapons.
Yes, yeah. That's part of the DJ Moore conversation. I'm sure he doesn't want to part with DJ Moore because of everything he did last year, maybe some plans he has for the future, but these are the tough decisions that you have when you're a playoff team with other roster needs. All right, I'm going to give you a player, a local player, a player with experience with Ben Johnson. It's offensive lineman Graham Glasgow, just released by the Lions. He played center for him last year. I'm just trying to throw out other options here in case the Bears missed on Linderbaum. In case Linderbaum somehow gets $25 million a year from another team, which could happen. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised by that. But I think if you're the Bears, you have to start creating a list of potential options if you miss out on some of the bigger name centers in free agency. To me, you have to bring in a center with some experience to help Ben Johnson. Maybe you have to draft one that has the promise and potential to learn behind this center, but you need experienced center options, especially if you're going to miss out on some of these top guys.
Yeah, obviously with the connections, I think it makes sense. I'm very clearly on record here that if I'm going to go cheaper, I'm going to do it at different positions, which is what we're going to talk about next. Because I have a lot of linebackers on my list. By the way, we're just going to let the cat out of the bag and acknowledge the fact that this guy just keeps jumping on my lap during this show. So if this is Jackson, and he loves to sleep in my office. Most of the time, he sleeps over there on the other side of this camera and does not bother me. But every once in a while, he just jumps on my lap and needs some love in the middle of the show. So at this point, I'm just going to leave him there.
If you're a longtime listener of this show, you will remember Adam Johns' battles with his cat allergy when we're recording Hoge Jahns at Hoge's house before Bears practice.
And way back in the day when I still had a dog, Maggie would just bark, in the middle of the show, like pretty much every single episode. So at least this guy stays quiet. But right now he just wants to sit on my lap, which is fine. So he's there.
The distraction.
Right. We're going to take our time out here. We're going to come back. We got, is it all defensive players the rest of the way? I think it might be. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tons of linebackers, and Johnsy has a cornerback on his list as well. But first,
whether it's on the field or in your financial life, Adam Hoge, the best teams win by delivering excellence at every level. At Old National Bank, we believe every play matters. You know who believes that too? No answer? Ben Johnson. From everyday checking to long-term planning and commercial banking, our team is here to build momentum and help you move the ball forward. It all starts with a plan tailored for you by professionals you can trust. For simple tasks to bigger financial moments, you can count on Old National Bank to bring you everything you need. Knowledgeable, steady guidance that brings you clarity and confidence at each step. It's a partnership designed to help you feel supported not just today, but well into the future. So whether you're celebrating a win, rebuilding after a tough loss, or gearing up for whatever comes next, we've got your back with tools, insights, and an expert crew that's always in your corner. Old National Bank, member FDIC, where relationships and results matter.
And Shady Rays is back, baby. You know that moment, the one where you realize you left your favorite sunglasses at the beach or on the roof of your car. Maybe you're skiing this winter and you lost them in the snow somewhere. In Braggs' case, he leaves it at a gas station 3 states away, at least 1 state away. Look, we've all been there. We've all had it happen. That's why you need Shady Rays, because Shady Rays changed the game. These sunglasses are made for real life. They're seriously good looking, polarized, durable, not stupidly expensive. And the wild part is, if you lose or break them, even on day one, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair. No guilt trip, just replacements, no questions asked. It's that easy. So now you can actually wear your sunglasses without fear. On hikes, concerts, on the boat, wherever. Shady Rays is eyewear that always has your back. So go to shadyrays.com and use code CHGOSR for 40% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Shadyrays.com, code CHGOSR. All right. So apologies, Johns, for definitely not listening to you when you. It didn't really even sound like a question, though. I was like, I just thought you were going to say Ben Johnson.
I was.
I was looking up free agent money and stuff like that.
It's okay.
But we do
love
appreciate
our friends from Old National.
Yeah, Old Nationals. All right. I'm trying to think of how I want to do this with the linebackers because there's kind of like two categories here. There's the ones that are going to cost some money, and then there's the ones that are going to be less. I'm interested in both, but again, like it depends. It depends on how this other money gets allocated first, right? What do you spend at center? Do you actually trade for Maxx Crosby? If the answer is no on those, well, then you might have to supplement at other positions, and maybe I'm willing to spend a little bit more. So I'll do this somewhat quickly, but here's the guys I think are going to cost a little bit more and certainly look that way on the PFF projections. Okay. But Devin Bush is a player, had a great year last year, 125 tackles, and is projected at 3 years, $12 million per year, which isn't terrible for an off-ball linebacker, but given where the Bears are at, I wonder if you can find better value. He does bring you speed, though, and you need speed. He'd be an upgrade from a speed perspective. That's a guy I would look at. Also on the higher end, Nakobe Dean from the Eagles. Now, kind of a different player. I think you can certainly make it work. What I like about him is he gives you a lot of pass rush ability, too. I mean, Matt Bowen has him high on his list, calls him the best blitzing linebacker in the league. I think you can have a lot of fun with the Nakobe Dean on your team. He's projected 3 years, 13.57. So even more. And then the last guy on this list, I got excited about him for a second. Now I think I'm a little bit off. This is the list of the more expensive linebackers. It's Quay Walker from the Packers. Because Matt Bowen's really high on him. And I trust Matt Bowen on that. We've seen a lot of Quay Walker. It's been probably more up and down, but he's pretty explosive in terms of linebackers. And I think he adds that element that you might be lacking right now. 3 years, $15 million, though. That's a little steep for a guy that he certainly hasn't lived up to the first round pick that he was for the Packers, and they're essentially letting him go. So I think I would look at those guys in that order. Nakobe Dean would be my favorite in terms of just pure talent, taking the money out of it. Devin Bush, I think, would be a little bit cheaper, gives you a lot of speed. And then the more I thought about it on Quay, I think I'm out on that. Now, the two guys I would look at here, Johns, that I think would be a little bit more bargain hunting, but could still give you quite a bit. One I've already brought up a couple times, and that's Alex Anzalone, who's got ties to both Dennis Allen and Ben Johnson. Was in New Orleans with Dennis Allen, was in Detroit with Ben Johnson. So I think that's a name to look at. Now, my understanding, and you can even just look this up too, like his history of shoulder injuries, I guess are still a concern. Teams are going to be looking at, worried about how much he can give you. He's already, I think, like in year 9, 2 of his career. He's been around for a while. But he's a great scheme fit. He plays really hard. And, the tape still says he's got a lot left. And he can cover pretty well. I like Anzalone, always have. 2 years, $7.5 million per year. We're talking about half of what those other guys I just mentioned. And that would probably end up being like a 1-year guaranteed deal anyway. So to me, that's kind of in my wheelhouse. And then second, projected even lower in terms of money. And this might be the guy I would, just because of the age, I would definitely target. 2 years, $6 million. Leo Chanel from the Chiefs. Because he also has like sneaky pass rush ability. TFLs, gets in the backfield, plays with speed, and comes from this really good cluster of Badger linebackers that have taken over the league. You can look at it.
Waiting for that.
Yeah, well, we already
He's
did.
Good. He's a good player.
Yeah,
He was
and he's
Jack
cheap.
Sanborn's teammate, I believe, in Wisconsin. They played
Yeah,
together.
and he's cheaper. Now he came after TJ Edwards, so they didn't overlap. But I keep saying this every year: draft Badger linebackers usually works out. So, and that might be the cheapest of all those options. And I think if everything works out perfectly, if you're paying attention, kind of putting this whole podcast together, go big on Linderbaum. I'm okay if you go big on Maxx Crosby. You go cheaper at linebacker. I think Anzalone or Leo Chanel would be good additions.
Well, the linebacker I had on my list is an older linebacker, 37-year-old Demario Davis. The projected contract was 1 year, $8 million. He's not getting more than a 1-year deal at this point in his contract, or this in his career. I would imagine a lot of experience, obviously with Dennis Allen. To me, if I'm pushing, you have all these resources, right? Let's keep the premium positions in mind. And I think at this point, if you're looking at the Bears' offseason plan, you have to consider center a premium position just because you want to keep the offensive line of strength. You know how important it is to Caleb Williams' development, and you know how much Ben Johnson puts on his center. So to me, center is a priority position. Linebacker, it just isn't. I know the Bears are going to need a starter with Tremaine Edmonds being released or being traded. I just don't see how you do it with all the other needs elsewhere. I'm gonna bring up another position too here in a little bit. In my opinion, Adam, I think you sign one of these veterans. Leo Chanel is actually quite young, so you might hit one of those mid deals that turn into a long-term solution. We see that happen across the league. But in terms of Anzalone or Davis, if that's the option for the Bears, I'm fine with that because I think the draft, especially early day 3, late day 2, gives you a lot of good options at linebacker. We just talked about that in the previous podcast. Like you sign Demario Davis to a 1-year deal, then you draft Jacob Rodriguez. To me, that's a good solution to your linebacker problem.
Got some breaking news, Johns.
I see it now. Wow.
Adam Schefter reporting the Bears are working to finalize a trade that would send DJ Moore to the Buffalo Bills. Compensation still being discussed, and the trade cannot be processed until the new league year begins, but both sides are pushing to make it happen.
All right. Instant thoughts on
go
this.
for it.
Okay. If you're getting rid of DJ Moore's money on your books, you're about to spend DJ Moore's money on your roster elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
To me, this fits with the Linderbaum conversation. To me, this fits with the Maxx Crosby conversation. Keeping DJ Moore on your roster makes you a better team, but at the same time, I've acknowledged it's a luxury. You have a deep class of you have a deep room of receivers. Rome Odunze, Luther Burden. So if this is what the Bears are going to do, if they're going to move him to the Bills, obviously get some draft picks in return. To me, the money is what matters. All the financial commitments that you already had in your books to DJ Moore now can be shifted elsewhere.
I think it's a great fit for Buffalo too. Like that's my first reaction. Like they need a receiver. I'm also happy for DJ Moore because there was this like sort of lingering uncomfortable feeling that DJ Moore was going to end up in a place like having to go to the Raiders or something. And he's had such a long, good career, but has basically had one good year with a good quarterback. And that's Caleb Williams this past year. To go to Buffalo for him and be linked with Josh Allen when Josh Allen's been in such need for, a
playmaker like DJ Moore.
Yeah, it's a great fit. It really is. That's my first reaction. It's a great fit for the Bills. It's a great fit for DJ Moore. And now we'll find out what the Bears are getting because right now I'm not seeing that quite yet. And it doesn't even, based on what Schefter's tweet was, I'm not even sure it's fully complete, the deal.
To me, I never understood the rampant criticism of DJ Moore. If now we're on to the farewells here, if this is it for DJ Moore, I understood like some of it, but there had to be I felt like some of it kept crossing a line. Just look at how valuable he's going to become for the Buffalo Bills. Like DJ Moore is a good player who delivers highlight reel plays. He was beloved in that locker room. This can't be an easy decision for the Chicago Bears. This one, like, I'm sure the player feedback, just like we got with Dalman, this is going to be emotional. This is a player that had a lot of respect, had a lot of friends in that locker room.
It is, and it's one of those things that you gotta follow the breadcrumbs a little bit. Like one of the reasons why, and I know he tunes into the show. Maybe he's tuning in right now once he sees the DJ Moore news. But JT O'Sullivan, QB school, he was in the league so long that he gets it. Like he gets when he's watching the film and he sees the way certain players are being used or the way they're running their routes, like whatever it is. And like he was on this probably even a year ago, but especially this season once Ben Johnson got there was just something off. There was something off about the chemistry with him and Caleb. And the entire time, I never once doubted DJ Moore as a player, never once he was never, if we're being truly honest, a true number one receiver, but he was the best the Bears had, right? And he proved that with Justin Fields, and he put up number one receiver numbers. And then, they move on from Justin. They bring in a different coaching staff. They have better players around him. They draft Rome Odunze, and you just sort of get pushed out a little bit. And that's okay. And then you follow the breadcrumbs once the season was over too. And even the wording, we said it last week when we were in Indy, the wording from Ryan Poles.
We were all over that. Yeah.
It was like, the wording was very different when Cole Kmet's name came up, right? Like, it was very obvious that they were open to trading him and maybe, really wanted to trade him. And I think when you look at the math, the share targets, or the target share, I should say, amongst these wide receivers and who Ben Johnson really wants to get going in this offense, I think it makes a lot of sense.
So let's go through the weapons quickly for the Chicago Bears. Let's rank them. So you have Caleb Williams, Colson Loveland, Luther Burden, Rome Odunze, Cole Kmet. Running back, you have DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai. That still feels like more than enough if you're Ben Johnson. Obviously, he's going to want more and more and more, but that feels like a lot. Still like a lot.
Right. We don't have any – I'm not seeing any compensation, though, yet, are we? And it's a little tough when we're live on the show. Without seeing any reports on the compensation, it wouldn't shock me, Johns, if this ends up being a little bit less than people are maybe hoping for because of the contract.
Right.
And we also have to see, are the Bears retaining part of the contract? That would kind of surprise me because they're clearly making this move to free up some of that. Like, as you said right off the top, to put that money elsewhere. But in doing so, you might not get as much as you want. What is Keenan Allen? Keenan Allen was a 4th round pick. They traded for that. Are we talking about a mid-round pick here? Yeah. I don't know.
Hold on a second here.
We're just going to have to.
Now we're working. Now we're talking about DJ Moore trade.
Yeah, you're seeing us work in live time. Oh. Well, we'll.
All right. So how do you rank the spending? Since we probably have new viewers coming in right now, like how would you shift the resources right now, just in terms of the money you're gaining from the DJ Moore trade?
Well, that's a great way to wrap up this pod, because if you are just tuning in because this trade just got made, we just went through live, and I encourage you to go back and listen to it later when this is up as a podcast or in full as the show. We've spent this whole show talking about free agent targets and how to allocate money to certain positions, and I kept saying along the way, that it depends on how the rest of the puzzle pieces work out. And a big question was, do you trade DJ Moore, right? So, one name I brought up about 15 minutes ago was Rashid Shaheed, right? And I said that is a luxury acquisition. But maybe if DJ Moore's out of the picture and you don't get Tyler Linderbaum or you don't pull off a Maxx Crosby trade, then maybe that is somebody that you put some of this money to because it can help you in a multiple different ways. So just as one example, that's somebody that while I do not think wide receiver is necessarily position of need, even after this DJ Moore trade, although I want to touch on that in a second, because DJ Moore made a hell of a lot of plays for you this year. Just assuming that everything's going to be like, you remember the game where they were like, didn't have any of their wide receivers?
The game against the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
The game that everyone in Chicago will forever remember.
Right. Who stepped up?
DJ Moore.
Right. So we can't just act like, oh, this doesn't hurt you at all, or you don't need to replace them at all. I already know walking into the studio later today at CHGO, Carm is going to be like, re-sign Darnell Mooney. And he's going to say it like that. And so you're going to have to bring in some guys. So Rashid Shaheed is somebody that I would look at. But also, yeah, we talked earlier in the show about how you can make Tyler Linderbaum and Maxx Crosby work. And without seeing the full compensation and the money and all this right now yet, because it's too fresh, to me, that makes it even more possible to bring in both of those big names.
You shift those resources. Again, if we're going to use the wording of Ryan Poles, just in terms of sustainability, it's sustaining success. So you need to use the resources that you're gaining from this trade elsewhere. To me, it's center. It starts with center. And then the luxury addition would be pass rusher. This gives you some of the freedom to do that, along with the looming move of Tremaine Edmonds, whatever that move happens to be. And the Dalman thing, the retirement, frees up that roster space, that cap space as well. So if you're the Bears, you have flexibility to go get your sustainability, and you do that by adding good quality players, a blue chip player, Maxx Crosby, a new starting center in Tyler Linderbaum. I'm not saying the Bears get everything done, but this is how your resources should be spent. Your newfound resources should be spent, especially if you're parting with a playmaker like DJ Moore. You need to improve your roster, not just plan for the long term. Plan for 2026. Let's make this year a winning team for the Chicago Bears as well.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, we'll I don't know if there's much more to react to right now because we need to see what the compensation is. I will tell you that we will have plenty more, obviously, on CHGO Bears coming up at 1:00. Also, well, let's just say I do want to end this, and we do have to get one more sponsor segment in here too. So maybe this is the way to do this. As we do need to thank our friends at Old National Bank one more time with our segment, Checking It Out. Every play matters, whether it's on the field or in your financial life. The best teams win by delivering excellence at every level. Old National Bank, where relationships and results matter. Remember, FDIC. So maybe let's just check out, since we do know DJ Moore's departing, Johns, let's just check out what his impact on this franchise was. 3 seasons, put up some big numbers with Justin Fields. Wait, was it 3 or 4? Losing my mind now.
Well, let's not forget he signed his contract extension. He was part of one of the biggest trades in Chicago Bears history.
Right.
The conversation should start with that.
Which is what I was going to say. So traded in 13, 14. Yeah, so 3 seasons. Like, it felt like he was with Justin Fields for more than 1 year, doesn't it? It feels that way. I'm saying it feels like he wasn't. 2023 will put up his biggest year with Justin Fields. It feels like he was with them for more than 1 season, but he wasn't. But yes, it leads to he's part of the trade that ends up leading to Caleb Williams being here, putting the franchise on the trajectory that it is now. We said this about DJ his entire time here. While there was some body language things at times, and I thought one of the more interesting things that came up with that was when Ben Johnson addressed it last offseason and says that body language matters to him, and it was something that they were addressing. If that is your biggest problem with a star wide receiver in this league, you got a pretty good teammate and player on your hands. You know what I mean? Like, because there's that position in particular, there's a lot of drama at times. There's guys wanting to force their way out. DJ Moore didn't want to force his way out. And he was on record with you a couple weeks ago in San Francisco.
He didn't want to leave.
Saying he didn't want to leave. So, yeah. So I think, while it wasn't necessarily a very long stint here in Chicago, I think DJ Moore will be remembered here for a long time as a player that had a pretty big impact on the Chicago Bears.
I'm curious to see how many trade partners the Bears were really entertaining, and whether or not, when discussing this with DJ, hey, we got the Raiders and the Buffalo Bills. Where would you like to go? For a player like DJ Moore, who just had the first winning season of his career, first of his NFL career last year with the Chicago Bears, I'm sure the Buffalo Bills stood out. The Bears, from the outside looking in, maybe they did right by DJ Moore by sending him to a team where he wanted to go, to a contending team. Maybe I should say. There'll be obviously more information that comes out here later today. It's only 10:57 here in Chicago as we're reacting to this live. But it seems like, to me, from the outside looking in, the Bears did DJ Moore right here as well, sending him to a contending team after he was just played a huge part in the success of the 2025 Bears, and was just part of the first winning team I think he's been on since high school, because he went to Maryland as well. It's a real thing. He was so happy last year, even with the lack of individual success. DJ Moore, believe it or not, for those who are going to complain about his body language, he was very happy behind the scenes. He was battling through a lot of different injuries. That's part of the conversation as well, as we're checking out DJ Moore's situation. Battled through all sorts of different things, including deep into the playoffs against the Rams. I think he should be remembered extremely positively. He should be remembered for delivering two of the most memorable plays in Chicago Bears recent history, at least that I can remember, the past 20 years.
And it frees up $16.5 million in cap space, which it seemed like at times when this was coming up during the season that this was going to be a hard contract to move. So again, I'm still curious what the actual compensation is, but right now that cap space is important for the Bears and for them to make additions elsewhere. And it'll be very interesting to see what they do with that space. I will say this though, too, if Rome Odunze becomes what he's supposed to be, and what I thought he was showing you in the first, 4 weeks of the season last year before he got banged up with that foot, the heel, and if Luther Burden continues to grow on what the glimpses he was showing you last year, and we already kind of know what Colston Loveland is, that's another big piece of this. There's only so many targets to go around. So when you really think about it that way, this move makes a lot of sense.
Also, it allows us to expand our draft conversation to explosive playmaking receivers that can be found late on day 2 and early day 3.
There's a lot of receivers in this draft too, so you can plug another one in there, keep it moving. All right. I
think this comment puts it perfectly. Sorry, DJ Moore is just a victim of the football business.
Yep,
that is correct.
100%. And someone else said it's bittersweet. I completely agree with that. And honestly, I'm excited to see him on the Bills because I like watching the Bills. I like watching Josh Allen, and I think it's a great fit. So, and he's out of the NFC as well. So the Bears will see DJ Moore in the Super Bowl next year.
Storylines. Again, This DJ Moore era should be remembered fondly as a positive. If anything, just remember the amazing plays he made against the Green Bay Packers during the 2025 season. I don't think anybody's going to forget those.
I mean, those will live on forever. I think that's a big reason why it's bittersweet. Because I said this, I think, when we were at the Super Bowl, like his numbers might have been down this year, but the impact that he had, the quality of the catches and plays and touchdowns they had were more than whatever he did with Justin Fields when the team was terrible.
Adam, on one of those, literally there's a defender all over him, like pass interference.
Yes.
Any way that you want to describe a penalty, like that is happening to DJ Moore in the end zone, and yet he catches one of the most memorable, insane catches for a touchdown that I could ever recall a Chicago Bears receiver ever making.
Right. It was that type of year with these guys, and DJ Moore was a huge part of it. So this was Checking It Out, sponsored by Old National Bank. Every play matters, whether it's on the field or in your financial life. The best teams win by delivering excellence at every level. Old National Bank, where relationships and results matter. Member FDIC. All right.
Do you want to know, before we go, the last player I had on my list, the free agency conversation?
No.
Greg Newsome Jr. or Greg Newsome II. Cornerback.
Yes.
Bears need a starting cornerback, everybody.
From
Northwestern.
Don't say it like that.
Fine. Northwestern.
Don't say it like that either. That was just weird.
Deshaun Wright's probably leaving a free agency. Tyreek Stevenson's got to win over Al Harris. Terrell Smith's coming back from injury, so cornerback's still a premium position.
All right, my anxiety is through the roof right now because I have to go drive downtown, and I'm already late, and I think, these are the days where
you're screaming at people.
Well, I'm more worried that they're not done and another trade might happen in the next hour while I'm trying to get downtown. So stay locked into CHGO. We're going to have you covered. As always, CHGO Bears at 1 o'clock today. We'll react to the DJ Moore news. If anything else happens, we will be on top of it. Johns, you're not allowed to leave your house. Stay in front of your computer and be ready to join us if we need you. And you guys watching the show, you're not allowed to go anywhere either. You have to stay where you are at too. And you have to hit like, and you have to hit subscribe, and you have to be subscribed to both this channel and CHGO, and become a CHGO diehard as well, and get a free Hoge Jahns shirt when you do that.
I had dinner plans tonight.
Too bad.
It's my birthday.
It's your birthday today?
Yes. Thanks for that, teammate.
You're just bringing that up now.
No. You should have texted me earlier today. I'll leave it at that. Just kidding. It is my birthday, though.
Should have.
John, so I feel we need to. Okay, we'll reconvene. We'll make up for this.
You know what?
I'm still going to dinner.
No, because this is something I'm actually very bad at, and I'm working on.
I'm actually really bad at it. I'm the worst with birthdays.
Well, by the way, welcome to CHGO, because this happens all the time. Everybody forgot my birthday 2 years ago. I'm not even a big birthday guy. That's part of the problem. It's in my calendar. There you go. Just like that. Now I'll know.
What's your birthday?
Going forward. Put it in your calendar. My birthday is April 16th.
Put it in your calendar, everybody.
I am a bad friend, everybody, okay? I'm sorry. I blew it. Now you get to work the rest of your birthday.
Enjoy your show. Let me know if you need me. I'm sure you will.
All right, thank you to everybody watching, listening. Please hit subscribe and the like button on the way out. Rate and review the pod. We appreciate you. And it's fun when we have breaking news. And I don't think we're done here. It's now twice this week already. Join us at 1 o'clock on CHGO Bears. Otherwise, if anything else happens, and it feels like it will, we'll break in here with mini pods, extra live shows if we need to. We'll have you covered here on Hoge Jahns. Talk to you next time.
See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.